Welcome to Shor Machshava on the Daf, Shir sponsor Nishvas Arm B'Hakashom Le'Abbas Yitzchok. We're holding Bo Metzia Daf Vov. This Daf is the Daf of Tokfa Koyin, the Sugya which is full of lomdes, full of fundamental concept and understanding the dinim of Chazakas. And within this Sugya, we find a jewel, a yesoid, a concept that Rabbi Yonis and Eibishitz tells us, which is a foundation of understanding Divrei Rishonim and Achronim. A little background, where does this come in? The Shach wrote the Sefer Tokfa Koyin. The Sefer deals with all the dinim of Chazaka, of Tfisa, of Kol Dal and Guvar, anything that has to do with these dinim. And the Shach writes in the Akdama, he wrote called the Tokfa Koyin, because the basis of this whole sugya is this daf, Bo Metzia Davavon base, when we say Tokfa Koyin. In addition, obviously the Shach was a Koyin, so Tokfa Koyin is very fitting name for the sefer that he wanted to write on this sugya. In one of the simonim in Tokfa Koyin, really Siman Kuf Chav Gimel and Siman Kuf Chav Dalet, the Shach speaks about the concept which is Kimli. What is the concept of Kimli? If two people have an argument about something, and there is Rishonim or Poiskim that say the halacha is like one, but then there's a few other Poiskim that say otherwise. So the din is that one could say, Kimli, I hold like the other Poiskim. I hold the halacha is like this, and therefore that's what I follow. And the Shach goes on to say, he brings the mocker to it, that even if it's a minority, most Poiskim agree that halacha is not like this person, but he wants to use the minority, he's allowed to do it. That's the idea of Kimli. Continues in the Shach and says, the next siman, that the dayanim have to be machriya. When can a person say Kimli, when not? Sometimes we know that we don't just choose any poisek, any rov to follow. So the dayan needs to be machriya. When can you say Kimli and when you cannot? Rabbi Yonis and Eibishitz has the sefer on Shulchan Aruch and Rama, which is called Urim v'Tumim. And there he put a sefer called Kitzur Tokfa Koyin. He took the Tokfa Koyin of the Shach and made a summary of it, because the Tokfa Koyin of the Shach is very long. He made only Ikriya Dinim, and on that he wrote his Pirush the Tumim, where he comments on what the Shach wrote. So he gets to the Simonim of Chuf Chav Gimel Chuf Chav Dalet regarding Kimli. Says the Tumim a fundamental yisoid. He says, a din which is mentioned in the Shulchan Aruch or the Rama. If the Shulchan Aruch and the Rama, they paskin like one opinion, then no one could say that Kimli, like I hold, like the other opinion. And he goes on to explain the following. He says, the ones that wrote the Sifrei Halacha, the Miskabel and Am Yisrael, like the Shulchan Aruch and the Rama, they had a special Siyata Dishmaya, a special Ruach Hakodesh that was when they wrote the Sefer. Hakoil Bichtav Miyad Hashem Hiskil. Losher Apostle, that everything came from Shamayim. And continues the Tumim to explain his words. He says, sometimes there's a question on Shulchan Aruch, and come the later Achronim, and give a very big discussion, Pulim and Zdodim, to come and explain what the Shulchan Aruch said. Says the Tumim, do you really think the Shulchan Aruch had all these cheshbonis the later Achronim gave? He was able to go through all the shackle of tires and the back and forth that all the several generations that came after discussed. Says the Tumim, that's impossible. It's not shaykh that he had all that in his mind when he wrote the Sefer. But do we still consider to say that what the Achronim are saying is true? Says the Tumim, absolutely yes. And this is the yisoid of the Tumim. That if there is something written in a Sefer Choshev, like a Shulchan Aruch and Rama, this obviously applies to the Rambam, and all the big Poiskim and Boyer Hara, that if it says something, you could take these words and derive from it much more than the author's intent. Because the words that are written by the Shulchan Aruch, the Rama, the Rambam, these words were written, Kiviyachal Ruach Hakodesh, is almost like a nevuah that was written in these words. So you could come and use these words and build on a big binyanim. This yisoid of the Tumim is so fundamental. This is what we live on. When the Rambam writes a small sentence, then come the Gedolei Achronim and discuss what did the Rambam mean, how did the Rambam write this and not this, and did they take it to Cheshbon, several hundred different ideas, and it all goes into one sentence of the Rambam. Did the Rambam actually think about all these options? According to the Tumim, very possibly no. But it doesn't matter because we're taking the Lashon that Maisa came down and now we can use. And all the Gedoylei Achronim followed this Yesod of the Tumim. And one example will bring Reb Tzadok HaKohen in his Machshavas Chorutz, in the beginning of Ois Gimel. He writes there, he speaks about the fact that the Shulchan Aruch and the Rama, right in the beginning of Shulchan Aruch, speak about Shivis Yashel Negdi Tomid, that a person should misgabe ka'ori la'avodas habayir. So says Reb Tzadok, do you think it's a mikre that this is the first thing the Shulchan Aruch and the Rama bring? He quotes the Tumim that we just mentioned. He says, no, it's everything is a nivu, everything is Ruach Hakodesh, everything is special siyata d'ishmaya. And if they wrote it, and it doesn't matter if the Shanoch actually meant to write the first thing, because that's the first avoid that a person needs to do. But the fact that it's written first, that gives us a message. The message to us is that if the Shulchan Aruch start with this, so then that means this is the Ikar avoid of Adam Yisrael. Did the Shulchan Aruch mean to say that when he wrote it first in the Shulchan Aruch? Says Reb Tzadok, not necessarily. But because everything is written in Ruach Hakodesh, the fact that it's written this way, you can learn from it things that even if the Shulchan Aruch did not mean it. As he writes, Hashem Yisbarach shalach es rucho yaleim lios kol divrei mechuvonim kama shelo yichivnu em. And this I heard from my Rabbi Ramosh Shapir Zatzal many times, that a lot of times he came and was medayek in the Rambam in Yonim that are very unlike Machshava and Kabbalah. And there's a big debate if the Rambam knew Kabbalah, did not know Kabbalah. And said Ramosh, it doesn't matter if he meant it or not. The fact that you could come and medayek it from his Lashon, that's good enough because this Lashon was Ruach HaKodesh to write it this way. And to end this shir, just add one more likudo based on this whole thing. What's shot that this huge Yesod of the Tumim is written in the sugyas of Tok Fakoyin. V'aloi Dovru. And as the Tumim himself says, even if he did not mean to write specifically here, just came b'mikra, but L'mayis, it is written in these sugyas. And if it comes from Shamayim, that means that Kodesh Baruch Hu is mechaven, that in these sugyas we come to this huge Yesod of the Tumim. Ef Shaloima, because this is mamish the sugya. What's the sugya? Tok Fakoyin. You have something over here that we don't know who belongs to. The Kohen chaps arayin, and he grabs onto it, and he says, this is mine. This is also regarding these limud Torah. There's different things that are written down. You can chap arayin, grab it, and say, I think this is the pshat. And even if that wasn't the intent of the author, when the Shulchan Aruch wrote it, doesn't mean that's what he meant. But you can take the sentence, you can do your own diyukim, you can build your own binyanim on these things to come to your own divrei Torah. You are the takfa kohen. You grab on to something which is not yet yours and make it into yours. As usual, the marim koimis of this shir are included in the attached source sheet.